So, as usual, this webinar is being recorded and will be accessible for replay. We will post the recording on our webinar webpage for your convenience to view at a later time. All attendees will be in listen-only mode to ensure the best audio quality for everyone. And if you have a question that pops up during the webinar, don't shy away. Use the Q&A feature on Zoom to send it in, and we'll tackle as many as we can towards the end, time permitting. Now, our presenter for today's session is employee engagement expert Janelle Callahan. Janelle is not only the co-founder of CPS HR's Institute for Public Sector Employee Engagement, but also is its guiding force and principal consultant. With a well-rounded MA in Human Services Psychology and 2 decades of rich research experience, she is passionate about enhancing employee engagement within government bodies and nonprofit landscapes. At the Institute, Janelle spearheads product development and ensures that client services are nothing short of excellent. Now, here's a little insight into what she'll be covering today. So she'll go over what employee engagement is, findings from CPS HR's national poll, and engagement and research trends. Now, without further delay, I'm going to hand it over to Janelle to enlighten us on the ever-evolving dynamics of employee engagement in the public sector. Take it away, Janelle.
Thank you, Marissa, and thank you everyone for joining today. I'm so excited to talk with you about the research we've done. So first, a little bit about CPS HR Consulting. So we are a self-supporting independent government agency since 1985. Our mission is to promote public sector excellence, and we have a full range of HR solutions, and we work with the clients all over the US. And the Institute for Public Sector Employee Engagement, our mission here is to really help government measure and improve engagement. We focus exclusively on engagement, conduct employee surveys. We support action planning and implementation. We also do our own research, which you'll be hearing about today. We provide benchmark data for our clients based off of our national poll. And then we also deliver training. We have this unique perspective being a self-supporting government agency ourselves, and there really is no other organization like us focused exclusively on employee engagement in the public sector and government ourselves. So I'm going to start today with some definitions of engagement. As you all probably know, there are many different definitions and models and theories out there. It can be kind of confusing. So I'd like to offer some clearer and shorter definitions of engagement. So this first one is from the U.S. Merit Systems Protection Board. It's a heightened connection between the employee and their organization. So I like this one because it's focused on that connection between the employee and the organization. A definition that I heard recently that I love is from Daniel Kahneman. He's, of course, famous for his work on decision-making and winner of the Nobel Prize in economics. He was on a podcast, and the host was asking about employee engagement and, you know, what is it? Is it motivation, empowerment, all these different things? The list goes on. And Daniel Kahneman goes, well, I thought it was about feeling good at work. And I love this because it's so true and so straightforward. So employee engagement, feeling good about work. And one question that we sometimes ask in our surveys is, what is one word or phrase to describe how you are feeling at work? And this is just a compilation of some of the words that we often see, and good frequently comes up as one of those descriptives. And then I bet you weren't expecting this, but Boston Chowder. What is employee engagement? Good mood, good food, and good customer service. So that's employee engagement for you in a nutshell. So this is a place that's in Quincy Market in Boston, very popular, always busy. And this is the manager's motto. So good mood, what does he mean by that? It's everyone in the right role, feeling good about their work. And if you listen to the Economist's Boss Class podcast, you can hear him talk more about it. Good food is, of course, having a good product, something you can be proud of. And then good customer service is making the customer feel good. So I like this because it's pretty well sums it up. Good mood, good food, good customer service. Finally, I think it's also important to consider from a motivational perspective, employee engagement. So Theory X and Theory Y manager, many of you probably have heard of this. This is from a classic management book, Douglas McGregor, 1960. Theory X manager is one who is pessimistic about people's motivations. So the Theory X manager believes people dislike work, must be coerced and controlled and directed toward those organizational goals. A Theory Y manager, in contrast, is optimistic about people's motivations for work. Theory Y assumes people are all interested in work and desire more responsibility and to be creative in solving these organizational problems. So I'm going to guess that all of you fall into the Theory Y camp because you are here now listening to an employee engagement webinar. So doing employee engagement is all about having a Theory Y mindset. Before we get into the details of our poll, I wanted to share this pie chart from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So it's showing the percentages of all workers in the US and where do they work. So 70% work for private for-profit companies, and then only 14% work in government. And then you can see the breakdowns here by federal, state, and local. Of course, local government has the highest percentage of workers. So now for our national poll. So we designed this poll to be representative of US workers. We work with a polling firm to find the right respondents. They also help design it to be representative. We have respondents from the private sector, all industries, all over the US. We make sure we have representation from all regions of the country. For government, we have federal, state, and local. Our government sector benchmark is a combination of all three, and it's proportionate to the actual numbers in federal, state, and local. We do sampling quotas and weighting to ensure that we are as representative as we can. It's refined to really reflect the true population breakdowns, level of education, gender, age. And then also we ran the poll very recently in November, December 2023. We had 1,615 respondents. That's about 400 in each group, private and each level of government. And we have been using the same methodology and the same polling firm since 2016. So how do we calculate engagement scores? Here are our 6 questions. Again, we're focused on that understanding of employee engagement as that connection between the employee and their organization. So I would recommend my organization as a good place to work. Willingness to recommend is such an important question. It really does say a lot. We also bring in these other aspects of connection like pride, attachment, and then feeling comfortable at work. That's such a basic yet important thing that affects this connection. And then feeling inspired and motivated by the organization, also very important to this connection. We use a standard agreement scale, 1 being strongly disagree, 5 being strongly agree. And we take a mean score for each employee. And then with that mean score, we categorize employees based on that score. So if someone answers agree or strongly agree for all questions, we consider them fully engaged. The somewhat engaged employees will have a mix of responses. And then, of course, The not engaged employees are answering disagree or strongly disagree for all of those questions. And I'd like to draw your attention to the smiley icon here. It's meant to show you there are going to be lots of different charts, and a lot of them focused on the percentage of fully engaged. And so they have this icon. Okay, so here are our top findings for 2023. The private sector had the highest percentage of fully engaged employees with 46%. And then government sector is below at 40%. And then you can also see the breakdown in levels of government. So state government had the highest percentage of fully engaged, followed by local government, and then the federal government at 35%. Now for the trends, and note the smiley up here. So these are all percentage of fully engaged, and that's really the most important number to focus on here. So this chart shows our results for private sector and government sector from 2016 to 2023. And as you can see, the private sector has always been higher, except for 1 year, 2021. And I'll talk more about that later. This year, you can see this gap of 6 percentage points. It is a significant difference, but that hasn't always been the case. And now breaking it down by federal, state, and local, again with the percentage of fully engaged. You can see here in 2016, local government had a high score with 44% fully engaged. And then for the next few years, we saw very little differences by level of government. And then we got to 2021 for some higher results, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. We conducted the 2021 poll in November 21. And as you can recall, there was tremendous upheaval with COVID. So vaccines were widely available by then, but there were still a lot of caution. Masks were required still in many public places, and many people were still working remotely at this time. And these positive results from 2021 can largely be attributed to remote work, but it's a complicated relationship, especially for government. So I want to share some additional research for context. We conducted this free survey in 2020, early in the pandemic, because we wanted to help in some way. The survey included questions about understanding COVID policies, health and benefits, workload, essential versus non-essential workers, topics to really help organizations understand how their employees are doing. And we included this one question, overall, how are you doing? And asked employees, the respondents, to name a word or phrase how they were feeling. And so anxious was the biggest theme, but you can see there's also a lot of good and grateful in here too. So it's a very mixed, complicated time. All of this is just to take you back to that time to reiterate that it was such an unprecedented traumatic event that we all went through. And I just wanted to share this to give some more context to our poll findings. So for this survey, we had about 20,000 responses, and of those who were working remotely in spring of 2020, 76% had never done so before. And then also of those, 85% said that they would like to continue. So many employees got the experience of remote work and they really liked it. So back to our poll. So this chart shows the percentage of our poll respondents who said they worked remotely at least some of the time. So this is comparing the private and government sectors. So as you can see, we had very few respondents working remotely in 2016 through 2019. And then in 2021, we had a huge increase. So 44% of our respondents in the private sector said they were working remotely, and 55% in the government sector. And now 2023, those numbers are back down, but still much higher than ever before. And this is another chart showing the percentages of our respondents working remotely, breaking it down by level of government. And you can see here, the federal government has long been at the forefront of remote work. So way back in 2016, 22% of our federal government respondents were working remotely. And then, of course, in 2021, we had this large increase. And you can see now the numbers are back down for local government in particular. We had 44% working remotely in 2021, and that's down 20 percentage points to only 24% in 2023. So we talk a lot about remote work and hybrid work with our clients. It's a big issue that I think is still being sorted out. And some cities and counties have embraced it, or have embraced more flexible schedules and are finding it to be a big boost to morale and also a competitive advantage. But it's not without its complications. And this next chart I'm going to show you is really going to make you think about that. So we're back to percentage of fully engaged, and this is for our 2023 results. So those who said they work both remote and on-site had the highest levels of fully engaged employees across the board. This shows, to some extent, maybe the value of being able to offer it. I've been looking at employee surveys for a long time, and it's been a very consistent theme that employees appreciate flexibility, and the ability to work remotely scores tend to be higher. This chart shows some indications of its positive aspects, but it's a complicated relationship. So you can see here, for example, in local government, only 26% of those who said they work remote all or most of the time were fully engaged. So it's a complicated story, and it may depend a lot on the particular conditions under which someone is doing hybrid or remote, and that could vary a lot from organization to organization. And then just going back here to 2021, it shows a similar pattern, but as you can see, there are some variations for each that don't make it a definitive relationship here. But still, you can see that for each private sector and government sector, federal and local, at least, the hybrid workers had the highest percentage of fully engaged, and this was back in 2021. So complicated story there, but the takeaway is that there seems to be some evidence for the positive aspects of remote or hybrid work. So now I'd like to get into some correlations where the relationships are more certain. Correlations are a measure of the strength of the relationship. But anyone who's taken a stats course knows correlation does not equal causation. So we know there's a relationship there, but we don't know exactly why that is. But all of these correlations I'm going to show contribute to our understanding of why employee engagement is important. And if you are trying to make the case for employee engagement in your organization, you are welcome to cite these findings. And then also in research, it's good to talk about effect size. So it's saying, what is the magnitude of this relationship? Is it a small hill or a mountain? Another way of thinking about effect size is its practical significance. So is there enough evidence here to trust these results and possibly make some changes based on it? So all of our effect sizes reporting here are considered medium, which means yes, there's something here worth paying attention to. Before we dig into the charts, let's do a quick poll. So this is something I'm always curious about. Doctors are supposed to take the time and know some basic things about you. We know that, a lot of times work can affect health issues either directly or indirectly. So we could do a quick poll right now. Marissa, take it away. Very interesting. Okay, so it's looking, let's see. So it looks like about 37% of you said yes, your doctor has asked you about your job and how it's going. 44% said no, and then 20% didn't recall. So this is a good setup to our next set of findings to share with you. Okay, so we're back to our bar charts showing percentages of fully engaged. So we had a question in our poll. How would you rate your overall physical health now? And those who said very bad or bad tended to have lower levels of fully engaged. So if you take the government sector, for example, here, only 15% of those who said they were in bad health were fully engaged at work, compared with 50% who said they were in good health. There's a very strong relationship here, connection between physical health and that employee engagement score. There's an even stronger relationship for mental health. Again, I'm showing the percentage of fully engaged, and we have this question, how would you rate your overall mental health? And those reporting bad or very bad mental health also had the lowest percentages of fully engaged employees. And so again, take the government sector, for example, here, 13% of those who said their mental health was bad were fully engaged, compared with 52% who said their mental health was good were fully engaged. So a strong relationship here. Now I'm going to share our findings related to organizational performance. So again, all of our measures here are self-reported. So we asked our respondents how they think their organizations are doing. And we found these moderate correlations and medium effect sizes for all of these. So there's something important going on here. So again, we're back to these percentages of fully engaged. For the question, my organization is successful at accomplishing its mission. So those who said disagree with that statement, meaning they feel that their organization is not succeeding on the mission, only 2% were fully engaged for the government sector. Compare that with those who said that their organization is achieving the mission, 49% fully engaged. Very strong relationship here, very strong correlation of 0.6. And our next question is about perceptions of quality. So I can contribute to the quality of products and services my organization provides. So here again, we have percentage of fully engaged, and those who said disagree with this statement, meaning I I can't contribute to the quality. 0% fully engaged in government, only 5% for the private sector. And then compared with those who say, agree, I can influence the quality of products and services, much, much higher levels of percent fully engaged. Similar theme for our next question, but the relationship is a little more complicated. I can influence cost savings for my organization. So of those who said disagree, there's nothing I can do to help save on costs. Much lower levels of fully engaged. So here in the government sector, for example, it's only 21% fully engaged for those who say they can't influence cost savings versus 54% fully engaged for those who say they can. And our last one here is also a little more nuanced. I can positively influence customer service in my organization. So take the government sector, for example, those who said disagree, meaning I can't influence customer service, only 15% fully engaged, compared with those who said agree, they can positively influence customer service, 45% fully engaged. And the last relationship I'd like to discuss here today with these correlations is intent to stay or leave. So this question, like all the others, are self-reported. We know people don't always do what they intend, but nonetheless, this can be a good reminder of why employee engagement is important, because turnover is extremely costly to organizations. So first, let's start with how our respondents answered this question. Are you considering leaving your organization within the next year? And if so, why? Those who said no, I intend to stay, that's a big proportion. So 71% in the private sector, 69% in the government sector. We usually see pretty big proportions, 50s, 60s, and 70s for this question. One thing to point out here, though, is that there's a higher percentage of private sector employees who say they plan to leave for a different organization. So 16% plan to leave for a different organization versus 10% in government. And then this is the same question broken down by federal, state, and local. So our federal government respondents, only 59% said they plan to stay. And then there were some big differences with those who say they plan to leave for a new position within the organization. So in the federal government, 14% of those respondents said they'd like to pursue a new position within their current organization, much less 11% in state, and then only 3% in local government said they wanted a new position in their current organization. So I just wanted to give you some of these descriptives about this intent to leave question, and now I'm going to talk about how it relates to employee engagement. So back to our bar charts of percentages of fully engaged. So for this question, are you considering leaving your current position within the next year? Those who said yes for a different organization were less likely to be fully engaged. So here for the government sector, for example, only 13% fully engaged for those who plan to leave and go to a different organization versus 46% of those who planned to stay with their organization. So There's a connection here, but it's filled with a lot of nuance because there can be many reasons why a person might plan to leave. But the main point here is that those who plan to stay are more likely to be in that fully engaged group. So those were all of our correlations about why employee engagement matters. And again, you're welcome to cite those if you want to make the case for why your organization needs an engagement effort. But now I'm going to switch gears here and talk about a different type of analysis we love to do with engagement data. It's called a key driver analysis. It's a type of regression analysis, and we use the relative weights method. It tells you which questions have the most influence on the employee engagement score. So it's a measure of importance. How does one thing compare against the others? And we also look at how positive or negative it is. So you can have a question that's very important and also very positive. So we define positive as above 65% and negative as below 65%. So you can have these two different measures, importance and how positive, and this is meant to help give you some insights on where you might want to improve. And this section, it's based on our poll, but these things might be important to your organization too. So I invite you, to reflect on them as potential key drivers for your organizations. So first we have, I feel valued for the work I do. So this question or variations of it come up over and over as being a key driver. So all the different work I've done over the years, this is often the most important question. And it makes a lot of sense too, because when people feel valued, they feel more connected to their organizations. And so here, in the bar chart, we show both for private sector and government sector above 65% positive. So this suggests that it's an area where organizations are doing well and it's worth maintaining. Another very important question is, I feel like I belong here. You can see in the AI generated image I have here, an employee saying, "Here, have a seat, glad to see you." And this chart shows the responses for the question. So 74% agree or strongly agree. I feel like I belong here. Another important question to employee engagement is, I feel that my organization as a whole is managed well. Another image for you, ducks in a row. Now this is interesting. So the private sector, 69% of employees agree, but only 58% for government. So below that 65% marker. So in some ways, this isn't surprising because there is a degree of difficulty managing in government. The takeaway here, though, is that employee perceptions about how the organization is managed are related to that employee engagement score. And government just has some inherent challenges on that front, I think. Another question that really matters to employee engagement is, my organization keeps me informed about matters that affect me. Makes sense. No one wants to feel left in the dark about what's going on. So this is another area, though, where we see a gap between the private sector and government sector. So private sector respondents, 70% agree, compared with only 63% of our government sector respondents. And another important question, a new question for us this year is, my organization's senior leaders care about employee well-being. So this is another AI generated image for you. That fruit is healthy. Give me an image of leaders offering a fruit platter. But just to be clear, I'm not suggesting that a fruit platter will solve the issue. It's a lot harder than this, actually. So it's in the policies or programs that a leader advocates for. It's about responding with compassion and concern to employee health issues. This was a new question we added this year because it seemed to be an underlying theme with what we are seeing in some of our survey results about leaders caring. Both are below that 65% marker. And after everything we've been through with COVID, I just think something has changed. It's important for leaders to show that they care about employee well-being. And this is an area where both private sector and government should probably try to improve on. So this probably comes as no surprise, but I am given a real opportunity to improve my skills in my organization, another key driver of employee engagement. So going back to theory X and theory Y, a theory Y manager really understands this and knows that an individual, wants to be able to improve, learn, and grow within the organization. And our results show that both government and private sector are doing okay on this front, above 65% positive. This is another important area, especially for government. I feel like I can make a difference by working here. Many people go work for government precisely for this reason. So government respondents, 79% positive for this question. Private sector, a little bit less, 76%. And this portion covers our key driver, but I just wanted to share one final finding on this theme of mission with you. So on this question, my organization's mission is important to me. So of all the questions in our poll, this was one of the largest gaps between government and the private sector. So there's a 9 percentage point gap between government and private sector, with government respondents being much more likely to say agree to this question. And what's interesting is that this has always been the case throughout our poll from 2016 to 2023. Government has always been more positive on this question. So quick recap on what I covered here. Employee engagement matters to important things like physical health, mental health. It's also very related to perceptions of organizational performance. My organization is successful at accomplishing its mission, for example, very strong relationship with employee engagement. Employee engagement also matters for retention. Employees who are fully engaged are more likely to stay. And with the key drivers, I hope you can take these as some ways that you might want to look into, some things that might be important in your organization. And then finally, we have some areas like mission where government really shines for obvious reasons, but there are also issues like management and communication that I think are harder for government in some ways, so they do deserve some attention. And one last AI generated image for you. So this is how I like to think about my work. The butterfly effect comes from chaos theory. A butterfly was used as an example to illustrate how a small change, flap of the wings, can lead to big changes. So one employee's suggestion in a survey could make a difference. One leader taking action on those survey results can make a difference. Maybe employees are more likely to stay, or other positive benefits through those changes. So my call to action for you, my hope is that you understand the power of employee engagement. It's about feeling good about work, and it's related to things that matter. And I hope you'll use surveys and data in your organizations to really understand this and track those trends. And then finally, since we know appreciation is so important and none of us get enough of it, please thank someone, thank a coworker today, and let them know how much you appreciate them, because it is important. And now we'd like to do another poll just to find out maybe some other topics that you might be interested in, and we'll take a look at some of your questions. Okay, go ahead and answer some of the questions here. So there's one, can you share some examples of employee appreciation? So uh, there are lots of different things that organizations can do, training programs, things like that. Um, but I think one overlooked aspect of this is hiring for people who are kind and are generous with their praise, and these types of people who will do that. And another way that you could approach employee appreciation is a lot of our clients participate in Public Service Recognition Week. So this is the first week of May. It's been going on for a long time, but it's really designed to help uh, honor public servants and let the public know more about the work of government. So those can be some ways to show appreciation. I think another important thing to say about appreciation is that it's not necessarily monetary, that people really do just value those words of appreciation, and just letting someone know how much you appreciate them can be really important for that reason.
Thank you, Janelle. Before we get into any more questions, I'm just going to say my wrap up. And then if you do have any questions at this time, please use the Zoom Q&A feature that we have. Just type in your question and we can answer it by typing it to you, or we'll answer it here live. If we have more questions than we can handle at this time, we'll just refer you to contact us, and we'll put our contact information afterward once the webinar is complete. And you can ask that way. Or if you prefer to ask privately, you can do that as well by emailing us. So just a few things to note. First of all, thank you, Janelle, for that very wonderful and enlightening presentation. I think I can speak for us all when I say that we're all very inspired by the insights that you've shared with us today. As a reminder to our attendees, this webinar has been recorded and will be available for replay on the CPS HR webinar page. Be sure to check it out, share with your colleagues, and just revisit the valuable information that you heard today. While you're there, check out our other past webinars as well. At CPS HR Consulting, we're committed to partnering with government and nonprofit organizations. Our suite of services and products range from employee engagement, recruitment, training, test rental, classification, and compensation, and much, much more. If you're looking to transform your organization, please contact us to see how we can tailor our services to meet your unique needs. And finally, before we finish, we invite you to share feedback on today's session. Please take a moment to complete our short survey that will appear after the webinar. Your thoughts help us improve our future webinars and tailor content to your needs. So thank you advanced for your time and your insights. Once again, thank you, Janelle. And we will now open the floor up to questions. Janelle, do you see any in the chat box here? And I do.
Yes. Question from Alexandra. What other than surveys can we use to engage employees? Some of our staff have expressed survey fatigue. How do we collect feedback? So